Hello, I'm Simon Crafar. We're in the MotoGP pit lane in the factory Suzuki garage. We hear a lot about rider and bike setup, and how the engineers work on this. And sure, there's a lot about electronics in there, especially these days, throttle control stuff. But a big part of the bike setup puzzle is bike balance. And when I say bike balance, I mean the weight bias from front or to rear. And from my point of view, it's a big part of keeping the rider happy, finding that sweet spot. So can I explain quickly what these front and rear weight bias feels like? For example, if you're riding around a circuit, too much front weight or a lot of front weight, you'll go into the corner. In the middle of the corner, it'll hold a line really well. It'll turn, then you crack the throttle. You may have to wait a moment to get the weight onto the rear because it's all on the front. Then it holds a line good, so you can pick it up off the edge and go, and it doesn't wheelie too much because there's a lot of front weight. You're flying down the straight because you've got a good exit. When you brake, the rear lifts too easy. It's scary, It feels like you're going to go over the front. Other riders will be able to outbrake you. The rider will come in and complain about that. Then you brake into the turn. Because of the so much weight on the front tyre, you end up pushing that front tyre, overworking it. Then when you release it, it turns well again. So if you go to the other extreme, a lot of rear weight, then in the middle of the corner, the bike won't turn very well. It's all on the rear, the front's high, it runs wide easy. When you crack the throttle, it's easy to go because there's weight already on the rear. You go, it wants to run wide, hard to keep it on the track. Then down the straight, get to the end of the straight, brake, it brakes fantastic because there's not much weight on the front. You brake really well, brake into the corner, you can put a heap of load on the front tyre because it's not overloaded, but as soon as you let go of the brake, it runs wide again. So these are the two compromises. You're trying to find the best compromise between these two things. And then there's also other variables like the tyres. The better the tyre is, the more weight you can put on it. So you've got different tyres, you've got different track surfaces, grip-wise. You've got different conditions, cold, hot, too hot, you have no grip, too cold, it's tearing. Then different track layouts. For example, Austria, that's why I say layout, it's all about getting the bike set for stopping. It's all stopping and accelerating. Then you go to Silverstone, fast flowing corners. It's more about getting the rider happy to carry that corner speed. So it's a sweet balance of turning and good front feel. Then I want to explain what the technicians do to change the bike balance. We'll start with the front. Up here, front fork, ride height. So where the front triple clamps bolt to the fork, you can loosen them, slide the fork back down or up, how much it's protruding basically. You can go all the way up here, so the front's very low, until the front wheel starts to touch the radiator or cylinder head. You can come all the way up until it's flush. That's the room you've got to play with. But also you've got the triple clamps here, the distance between the steering head and the center of the forks. I've ridden bikes everything from 22 mil here to 30. So this also changes trail, but that's a whole nother subject we're not going to get into. Also in the steering head here, where this goes through on the factory bikes, we can change these cups, move the steering head further forward or further back. This changes the distance between the center of the wheel and the crankshaft, so it makes the frame longer or shorter. The longer it is, the less weight on the front. The shorter it is, the more. Let's go to the back now. And the back ride height is adjusted by the shock length. It's not actually the length of the shock, it's a piece that bolts onto the shock. The longer you make it, the higher the rear goes. Then you can lower it. Each turn is a mil here, but it'll be like 3-4 mil at the back. So, and then obviously down you can make it lower. But also you've got swing arm length, which is swing arm pivot to axle. You can make this longer or shorter. The longer you go, the more weight on the front, the less on the rear. It makes the rear more predictable because it's long, you get a lot of feel, but less grip. The drifting bikes, like great big long swing arms, no grip, lots of feel, control. If you go short there, it's more weight on the rear, less predictable, like it grips, and lets go really quickly, wheelies more, So there's always a compromise. Everything you do, front or rear, affects the other end of the bike. So you can see it's really easy to get lost. These technicians know all of the parameters the bike works best in, all of the measurements. They also know what each other effect it will have on the other end of the bike. They work on rider comment. But the rider comment is only accurate if he's pushing 100%.